Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a look at another major error, foul in grammar. This is subject-verb agreement. Now, if you haven't completed these exercises or viewed the PowerPoint slides, then just watching this video is not going to be of any help. View the PowerPoint slides. If you need to go through them and read them 2 or 3 times, that'd be a good idea. Then sit down and do this handout and then watch this video. So with all that said, let's take a look and be on the lookout for errors with subject-verb agreement. So the editing symbol is SV for subject-verb agreement, and this is what we have happening here. So number 1, the McCarthy hearings held during 1953 and 1954 represents a dark era in American history. Here's the subject. Here's the verb. These do not agree. This is disagreement. We want them to agree. How does this happen? We have to knock the S off. Hearings represent. Now, please remember that any intervening or modifying phrase has no effect on subject-verb agreement. So if you need to, remember, just get in there and cross that off or put parentheses mentally, physically, whatever you need to do to focus on subject and verb. Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin had claimed as early as 1950 that there was more than 200 communists in the State Department. Now, this is an interesting sentence, number 2, reason being it is inverted. Now, in the English language, we like to have the subject come in front of the verb, but sometimes we can flip that, and then it's inverted, meaning that the verb's in front of the subject, and that can create confusion and a false subject. The false subject here is there. There is never, it's not a noun, it's not a pronoun, it's never a subject. So, that means we have to look for the subject of was. And if we look inside of the sentence, right, we can see it. Communists. Communists is plural. Was is singular. How do we fix it? Were. McCarthy offered no proof for this claim, but people's concern that communists were infiltrating various government offices were strong enough to give rise to a period of national hysteria. Oh, look, communists were, we got that one, communists were, this one is correct, right? No, we have to take a look. Now, here we have another verb, were. What is the subject? It's not offices, but what? Concern. Not concern were, but concern was. The tool that McCarthy used to support his charges was public hearings before the Senate Investigation Subcommittee, which he chaired. The tool was. Oh, look, everybody. Look, y'all. That agrees. So what's the emoji? Smiley. It's a good sentence. Good sentence is correct. Someone called before the committee could admit his or her affiliation with the Communist Party, could expose a friend or associate who are linked to the party, or could take the Fifth Amendment. Now, we have an error here. Here's the signal right in here. This is our focal point. What's the rule we have? We have or, which splits the subject, so we look at the one that's closest to the verb. Associate. Not associate were, but associate was. the last of these options were almost as good as an admission of guilt. Remember, those phrases have no effect. What's the subject? Last. Does last agree with were? No. What do we need to do? The last was. Number 7. Many of the people who was branded communist by McCarthy's committee were blacklisted. That is, denied employment after testifying. Now, number 7 is a really, really fun grammar puzzle for us. Reason being, we have the prepositional phrase of the people. Our subject is many. Now, when we have a variable indefinite pronoun as the subject, we have to find the antecedent. And the antecedent is the word that the pronoun is referring or pointing to. So I have to draw an arrow to figure that out. And what is that? People. Now, people is not the subject, but it's the antecedent, right? Now, would you say people was? Hopefully not. Hopefully you would say people were. Number 8, among the more famous of those who suffered blacklisting was the writer Dashiell Hammett and the musician Pete Seeger. Now, this has 2 rules. This is an inverted sentence, plus we look inside of here. 1 subject, 2 subjects. What's holding them together? The word and. This is going to make the verb plural. Change was to were. McCarthy's political influence, together with the waves of hysteria it spawned, were finally ended in December 1954 when the Senate voted to condemn his conduct. Now, just like number 1, we have intervening modifying phrase. Here's our subject, here's our verb. Nothing in here affects subject-verb agreement. Influence were, influence, say it with me, was. Very good. Then number 10, the betrayals and mistrust of this period was the inspiration for Arthur Miller's play The Crucible. Right? Same rule as number 8. 2 subjects held together by and, plural verb. Is was plural? Nope. Betrayals and mistrust were. All right. So, subject-verb agreement. Be really careful making sure to avoid those errors. Make sure that your subjects and verbs always agree. So thanks, y'all.